What's happening, everyone? And welcome. I didn't expect for this episode to be so Canelo centric, but I feel like he's dominated the headlines this weekend when it should be Benavidez' moment. But we're going to talk about it, man. The El Chile crew is here. Nopal, Boxeanos, what's happening, brother?
What up, Chicano? Excellent fight on the weekend, man.
Exactly, man. It was an excellent fight, and we're going to give David Benavidez, the Mexican monster, his due. Let's talk about the fight itself, man, because here we do appreciate David Benavidez, and we're going to talk about him right now. Let's do it, man. Let's do a little post-fight review, dude. I feel like I said, Canelo's dominating the headlines. It's all about Canelo, but hell, you know what? Benavidez deserves a little bit of shine, and the least we could do is give it to him. So let's talk about it. David Benavidez decisions. Caleb Plant, the scorecards were a little bit wide, right? I mean, it was like 7-5, 8-4, and then 9-3. I believe the judges gave it to Benavidez just like that. Nopal, what did you think about this fight, man?
Oh man, I thought it was an excellent fight. The first about 4 or 5 rounds, I kind of started to feel, you know, like uh, like Caleb Plant was stinking it up a little bit, but I realized that, you know, David Benavidez was still very patient. Other fighters would have been like already getting pissed off, having to follow him around the whole ring. We know that it was a bigger size ring. I think it was 22 by 22. Caleb requested that, and he's very patient. And the dude's got a big gas tank. He can go all 12 rounds just banging it out, and you know he was very patient, and it made me curious to see maybe he could beat or fight Demetrius Andrade. You know what I mean? I know that he's probably going to have about 2 or 3 years before he can get the Canelo fight. So he in my opinion he should fight somebody in between. But going back to the fight, it was an excellent fight. Around the fifth or sixth round, I think Benavidez started catching him, and it looked like Caleb Plant was slowing down a little bit. I think it was because you know um, he has excellent movement, but maybe his body isn't conditioned to do that for 12 rounds. Maybe that's what it is. But I remember that's kind of how the Canelo one went too. Around those rounds right there, he started slowing down a little bit. But I thought he had an excellent game plan. The thing is, though, you know, maybe he used too much energy fast, so knowing that, I don't think his coach thought about that well, whether he could do that for 12 rounds. I know people were writing Breadman's, nuts basically on this, like, oh, he's going to learn a bunch of new stuff with Breadman. No, I don't think so, bro. Keep in mind that Breadman's the same one that used to say, that Julian Williams was good enough to beat Canelo. He could train Julian, show him enough stuff to beat Canelo. Something that sounds super delusional. Uh, and yeah, I think that maybe they didn't have the correct game plan. Maybe they were banking on catching Benavidez with a big shot. I noticed that he was trying to set him up with the same punch that he landed on the dog, who he knocked out, and I'm not sure if he landed the shot. I think the the PBC crew, which was absolutely even worse than the Zone, them guys suck. Um, I think Al Bernstein, like you mentioned before, what didn't happen to be there, and they really need that guy, but they had mentioned that he had landed the same shot on Benavidez, but I guess either it didn't connect correctly or whatever. But so maybe they were going for a big punch, but he started getting tired, and that's when he had to hold on for dear life, every chance he could, because David Benavidez is a straight monster, man, and he did really good. And shots out to him, and his shots out to him for you know proving me wrong. I don't think I was wrong. I just said that I'm not sure how good he is. This is going to show me a little bit, and there's still a chance that he might be a hype job. just like other fighters that step up to the thing and they don't do good.
Right. So, Nopal, great breakdown. I want to give a shout out to A-Rod who's in the house. What's happening, brother? Hope you enjoyed the fight. So, Nopal, how many rounds did you give Plant?
I think I gave him like the first four. I was people that I was watching it with. I was telling them, there's a lot of biased PBC. Uh, they're known to be biased as far as they like the movers and all that, the pure boxers. So they're known to, even by the fifth or the sixth, you know, I was I was telling the other person that I was watching with. I was telling her that I believe that PBC probably had the first 6 rounds for Plant, but and she was like, you're crazy because she was like, look at the punch stats. So the punch stats were already in, according to her, they were by the fourth round they were already in David's favor, which I was like, damn. But I was like, I think he's winning the rounds because he's flashy and all that. I'm not to say that I thought he totally won it. I have to go back and rewatch those rounds closely, to not be biased. But I did think that that Plant won the first 4 rounds, in my opinion.
Excellent. Want to give a shout out to JC who says the thumbnail's funny as fuck. Well, man, I had to do it because, bro, it's only Monday, and everybody's just talking Canelo. People are enraged, bro. Check this one out right here. I'm telling you, dude. Right now, dude, the people are riled up, dude. Fucking pissed. Like the Canelo hates at an all-time high. But what we're gonna do, man, we're gonna get back to the post-fight review because I want to talk about it too, and I want to add to what Nopal was talking about. I'll tell you this, dude. I felt like, just like Nopal does, that Benavidez did a very good job. I felt like he took a little bit of time to get warmed up. Also, Plant, like you said, was stinking out the joint a little bit, and he was holding for dear life, but he was moving good early, and then he did start to tire out. I gave Plant 3 rounds. I gave him the first round, the second round, and then the fourth round. And 2 of those, in my opinion, could have been swing, and I gave them both to Plant. But in my opinion, it was just really because there really wasn't much to choose from. I felt like they were both kind of filling each other out, and I felt like David Benavidez was moving his head, taking a little while to actually get warmed up, taking a little while to actually connect, and Plant was just doing some pot shotting. But I did love the fight. It was really exciting to watch live because this had all the elements of a grudge match. On top of that, too, and you see this too when the tickets are a little bit cheaper. Usually with like a big time event, it's hard for people who are hardcore fans to go in there and get rowdy. But this had a great price point for the fans. And so that was a hot crowd, which only added to the element. It was very fun to watch this fight live with the energy. I don't know if I would go back to watch it. I think it was great to watch live the first time, but the clinching and the flow wasn't all that great. Although towards the end, it did get very exciting. If you're watching it live, watching Benavidez systematically break down Caleb Plant, who's getting more worn, more tired, has pretty much lost his puncher's chance because he can't put it all together. It was fun to watch. And I knew this fight was over probably by like this, I don't know, like the 8th round. Like I didn't give Plant a round after round 4, 5 through 12. I think it was all Benavidez, and it just kept getting worse and worse. Although I think because of a little bit of inactivity, I think round 7, you could make the argument that possibly Plant had won just based on the activity, but it was still kind of close. But you could tell which way the tide was going. I felt like Benavidez did a really good job just doing what he does best, right? Just becoming Benavidez. And so he started just marching forward, just throwing combinations. And eventually he was able to tell Plant, like, I could take your shots. It doesn't matter. Plant, stop moving around so much. And then that was all she wrote. So I think Benavidez did a very good job. He got his flow going. At first I thought he looked a little stiff, and I thought, well, if it continues like this, who knows what the scorecards will look like. But Benavidez stayed very well composed. He had good power. Like you said, Nopal, I thought Kenny Bayless was out of control. But, I mean, that's Kenny Bayless for you. I think he's been a shitty ref for a while now. He didn't let them work. The other thing, too, that surprised me, speaking of letting the fighters work, is one of the things that I said before this fight is I felt like David Benavidez was going to have a problem with Caleb Plant clinching, because Caleb Plant likes to go in there, see where you're at with clinching and wrestling. And from what I've seen historically, Benavidez isn't very good at it. But he showed a lot of improvement there. You could tell he was prepared for it. He knew what to do. He kind of knew how to put his forearms there. He knew how to fight in the clinch as long as he could until Kenny Benavidez went there and broke it up. Yeah, dude, I guess he did separate them at the right times when there was like a headbutt, but at the time it just looked really funky. It looked like he was almost favoring Plant, but who knows with Kenny Bayless? He's been in the game for a long time, and he has reffed a lot of fights where I liked his decision calling, but yeah, it just felt like he always had more issues with Benavidez. On top of that, too, man, Nopal, what'd you think about Plant giving Benavidez a flush shot to the huevos?
I thought he totally did that on purpose. And, because I've seen other boxers do that sort of shit. When they get into trouble, they'll sock the other dude in the nuts. And, it's obvious that you needed to do something to give himself a little bit more time to, rest or whatever. And he was probably hoping that the ref or that he could hit David hard enough so that David would say, I need the 5 minutes. You know what I mean? That's probably what he was hoping for, but maybe he didn't land flush where it needed to land. But that just shows you how desperate he was at that point. You know what I mean? But props to him for making it to the 12th round. The dude is very resourceful. He was able to hold on the whole way. And I could have, he was holding so much to the point where if I wanted to, be a dick about it, and not that it matters to him or not, but if I wanted to be a little bitch about it, I could probably go back and give Benavidez a couple knockdowns because a couple of times he held on when he was going to fall down,
He
and
certainly
even
did.
that one round 8, when the ref called in the medic to see if he was okay. I mean, why don't you just call that a knockdown right there? You know what I mean?
Right. Very bizarre, but I agree with you. I think if there had not been so much holding, Benavidez could have gotten the knockdown, at least maybe a knockout. But props to Plant, man. He showed a lot of heart. He didn't have to take this fight. We know this. He went in there and he took the fight. He even had a Eminem song intro saying like, "What y'all act like you never seen a white guy before." Like, very impressive.
I thought that was kind of whack, bro. To be honest,
but you know what?
As cool as Plan is with his lowrider car and his flashy shoes and all the, he's got good taste, man. But that freaking song was whack, bro. I thought he was gonna have a real rapper walking him in. At least David Benavidez had the banda going.
I know. You know what? To me, it was whack. Like, don't get me wrong, Nopal. I didn't think it was cool, right? But I do like how he just kind of puts it in your face, right? Like, yeah, I'm a white boy. Yeah, I'm playing Eminem. Like, fuck you, right? Like, I kind of like his swagger. Not necessarily that I think that what he's doing is good, but you know what? He's a hard worker. He's disciplined. He's confident. And so, man, I like Plant. I like Benavidez. And I'm glad that they, squashed the beef, like they like to say. It seems to me like they were cool. They were hugging it out afterwards. Even Jose Benavidez Sr. apologized to Plant for some of the shit that he'd said. I don't necessarily like it when people go over the top and then afterwards go, "Oh, sorry, let's be cool." Like, I still think that there's a line that shouldn't be crossed. But, I mean, that's going to be his own karma to deal with down the line. But I do think that this was a great fight to watch live. I wouldn't watch it again. But, yes, Benavidez is now the #1 mandatory for Canelo. Congratulations to him. And let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about what we think Benavidez should do next. Now, we know that the champion of 168 pounds, El Gran Campeón, Saul Canelo Alvarez, we know that he is scheduled to fight in May against John Ryder in Mexico. Okay. So he's going to fight in Mexico here in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then after that, what we do know is that he plans to go up to where the big boys are at 175 pounds and try to fight Dimitri Bivol again to try to avenge his loss. A undefeated champion who is a top 10 pound for pound fighter. He's taking on a bigger challenge, in my opinion. Some people seem to have an issue with what Canelo might be doing for one stupid reason or another, right? But let's assume, right, that we'd like fighters to stay busy and fight twice a year. Nopal, what do you think that Benavidez should look to do with the rest of his year, assuming he can't get Canelo in September, and it looks like he won't? What do you think Benavidez should do next?
Well, I'm not gonna assume Chicano because there's no way he can get Canelo in September. Canelo's got about 2 fights lined up, and by the looks of things, it's looking very obvious to anybody that has, that's not blind that he's basically he won't, he's not gonna fight. We can't even ask him to, fight David in September. So there's going to be at least 2 years. We know these fights take a long time to negotiate because they're going to do the whole dance that we're so familiar with. Basically, Canelo's going to say, "Okay, let's take I'm offering you guys the fight, flat fee, 10 million. Come take it to the zone over here.
Yeah.
I'm the A side, whatever." Them guys are going to do the dance where, "Oh hell no, that's crazy. Why would we have the fight in the zone? The zone's no good."
Right.
Uh, then they're gonna be like, "Okay, we'll give you 50 million just for David." And then Canelo's gonna be like, "Well, that's how much Eddie hurt." We know that dance, bro. That dance takes at least 6 months to a year. And so for that dance to even start, there has to be an invitation to that dance, meaning, somebody's gonna have to send an offer or somebody's have to mention something before they even start talking about that. That's gonna be at least a year. So what I'm saying is, I'm not really too worried who Canelo fights because we already know he's going to fight Ryder, which a lot of people don't like that fight, but it is what it is. The dude's coming off of surgery. He's coming off of fighting four times per year. We can't ask that much of Canelo. He's fighting Ryder and then he's fighting Bibble. And I don't think that the dude's going to go back to fighting four fights a year. He's only going to do like the normal, which is every 6 months or whatever. May and September,
Hmm.
the the two dates that he's known for. He's going to go back to that. So, the big question is, what's David going to do this whole time? That's what we should all be asking ourselves. Are we going to expect Canelo to go take the monsters, Bivol, and have this crazy ass expectations from Canelo? Meanwhile, PBC keeps this guy on preservation, so he could stay fresh for Canelo. Here you go, another just an easy fight or whatever. We got Morel over there, bro. Why don't you fight Morel? And I wouldn't be too disappointed with Canelo being the one to say, "Hey, well, it'll be at least 2 years before I can fight you." But in between them, this is what I'm going to propose. Winner of that fight gets me. You know what I mean? I'll have no problem negotiating with you guys and making a fight. Just do something in between if you want me to even entertain a fight with you guys.
Great point, man. See, here at El Chile, we're Canelo fans on top of boxing fans in general, and we respect all good fighters. So we just generally have high standards for fighters. It's not weird that we want Benavidez to possibly do something with the rest of his year. We're just about to go into April. So, yes, let's take a look at the top 10 rankings at 168 pounds. Like you said, dude, I think the David Morrell fight, I think that would be worth entertaining. Okay. It looks like he would be ranked number 4. Ryder's ranked number 3, according to Ring Magazine. Okay. Now, some people make the argument that that's based on his accomplishments, not necessarily based on his pound for pound merit, right? Some people, based on the eye test, think that David Morrell would be a better opponent. I could resonate with that. I've been saying that I think David Morrell will be the future of the 168-pound division, probably within about 2 years. I think this will be his division. I'm very impressed with what I see. A lot of these other guys, dude, like, okay, well, Darrell, he's shot. I mean, they've already gone through Darrell. I really don't know the rest of these guys that well, honestly. The 168-pound division has been a little thin, right? It's been a little thin. I know David Morrell doesn't really have much of a resume at all. He doesn't, but I'll tell you this. It would be one hell of a hot fight. And I want to welcome Georgie with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. What's happening, Georgie?
What's good, man? How you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good, man. Just so you know, I know you're coming in late, and I know you're from the Arizona area. I just want you to know we've been keeping it fair, man. We've been giving Benavidez his credit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So if you'd like, bro, why don't you add to it? Tell us what you saw in that fight real quick, and then also tell us what you think that Benavidez should do next.
All right, cool. You guys can hear me pretty good, right? I don't sound like too muffled or anything.
Yep.
Sounds good? Okay. Um, well, I didn't really get a chance to go like on the record as far as a prediction. I think in my mind, I predicted that Plant would have some pretty good rounds early on. And this is my prediction. I thought Plant would do good early on, and then probably about 5, 6, Benavidez kind of kick it on, and I predicted that he was going to get a stoppage. I think between like 9 and 11, but I was sticking to the 10th round. What I thought how that was going to turn out. But didn't turn out that way. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Plant too. He had a good game plan. And I think a lot of people predicted also that his gas tank was not going to do him well, which it showed pretty quickly that it just was not there. Unfortunately, you know, if I think if Plant had a better gas tank, I mean, he could have pulled this one off. You know, not going to say pretty easily, but he would have been able to stack up enough because he stacked up some early rounds in this fight that he could have, you know, he frustrate Benavidez more like how he did early on. And you can see that Benavidez did show him some respect. So it wasn't like Benavidez was really trying to go out there and really try to be the monster that Tyson gave him, labeled him. But it was also the good footwork of Plant. Him not being in the pocket, you can tell he knew exactly when Benavidez was going to throw, so he would take that step out of the way. Benavidez was punching air. But as we all expected, the gas tank of Plant was not gonna do him well, and it didn't. Towards the end, he lost it. I thought Benavidez was going to get a stoppage just by watching. Like, it was pretty close. I think it was maybe like the 8th round that we thought that, or it looked like to me that Benavidez was going to be able to get him out of there. It was a good fight. I think a lot of us expected to see Benavidez get a stoppage, especially with the name, the monster. But, you know, hats off to both guys. You could tell definitely that Benavidez did respect Plant. And like you said, you know, in the beginning of the fight, it's, you know, you're not trying to be friends. Of course, you're rivals, but these two guys already kind of had this beef going on for a couple years now. I think this fight happened at a good time. I think, to me, it happened at a better time now than it did a couple years ago. Especially with Plant being able to get that experience, and with Canelo taste the being able to taste the stage, or get a feel for the big stage as he did. And this was a pretty big stage as well for Benavidez. But I mean, it is a little disappointing. Again, I expected for Benavidez to get a stoppage. You can definitely tell he made some adjustments. He started to you could definitely see the adjustments that he made, where he wasn't so aggressive and he was just kind of letting Plant come to him a little bit. And I know I was because I just got back from California yesterday night, and of course I was able to listen to a couple shows and some things that people were saying, and I agree too that there was two sides to this. It was Plant was holding a lot. You know, you didn't see any warnings given to Plant from Kenny Bayless. So there's that side of it. And the other side of it is, like, you know, if you want to claim to be an elite level boxer, like Benavidez and his fan base is trying to claim him to be, like, he should have been able to make those adjustments so that way he wouldn't get smothered or smother his punches, you know, maybe throw some jabs or take, you know, some steps, some lateral movements, some, you know, like small steps backwards, and not let Plant smother him so much. And you know, then you wouldn't have Plant like around eighth round and on in survival mode. I think it's a good experience for Benavidez. I think going forward from here, I think he should. I honestly think, and I agree too with hearing some of the other channels, that I think right now would be the best time for Canelo. Just forget about the Bivol fight and go after Benavidez now. Because there was a lot of mistakes that that he could have worked on as well. Simple things, footwork, because he still doesn't have good footwork. His defense is okay. It's not the best. He was getting hit with some jabs. He got his head snapped back a few times. So I would say moving forward, I think he definitely needs to work on some footwork and head movement. And possibly like you see now with a lot of these guys, with their fathers as their trainers, these fathers got to take the passenger seat or take a step back and let some more experienced trainers take over, and I think that would be in the benefit of Benavidez. And also I would think Canelo should take this fight this year, especially with what we've seen with Benavidez. I think seeing this, I think it still would be a good fight. And I really wasn't quite sure who I would pick, like if this fight was to happen in the next month or whatever. But I was definitely leaning towards Canelo. But after seeing what I saw this Saturday, like I'm more sure that like Canelo could win this one. But for Benavidez to benefit in a Canelo fight, like Canelo would have to, let the Ryder fight happen, Bivol fight, and then also Benavidez needs to stay busy. There's some names out there that I'm hearing from channels or what other people's opinions are on who he should take, and I do like the name Andrade. I think Andrade would be a good fight for him, especially Andrade, how he looked last. He could bounce back from this fight that he had with Plant, and I think he could stop Andrade.
Great
Man,
stuff.
it would be. Let me say something, Chicano, please. It would be great for a fighter to show us, how to beat a mover like that. Previously I've noticed that other fighters just decide not to take fights like Andre, because why would you risk all your status to fight a bum like that? You know what I mean? But he's shown that he had to chase a dude around. So,
Yeah.
I'm very optimistic about that. It'd be really nice for David to go out there and knock his ass out, you know what I mean? And show somebody how to chase somebody around and get his ass,
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I would love that fight. Even if it turned out to be a stinker, I would just love the fact of him showing us something different. You know what I mean? Even if he just it ends up being like Canelo at Islandi Lara, I would still appreciate that fight. That'd be a great one. And then the Morel fight. Like I told Chicano, it's he's got about a year or at least a year and a half, maybe two, before he even gets the fight. So, do something in between then. This fight was, as it turned out, he didn't take no damage, absolutely nothing. He probably went to the club after the fight. This is just basically a tune-up for David. As it turned out, I thought it was going to be a little tougher, but it turned out to be like him fighting just one of these normal guys that he already has on his resume. Like, it wasn't hard at all, and he didn't take any damage, so why not take another good fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, he did make some adjustments, but I think he could have made better adjustments. And you can see he was being as patient as he could, and he was showing different faults to his game. Right, he tried to box a little bit from the outside, and when he needed to be aggressive, he got aggressive. So I mean, taking away from it, I do think I would have loved to seen the stoppage. I think that would have, it'd have been more of a positive response or a reaction to people that were watching it. But I think if this fight was to happen with Canelo next, like I would say, like all the way, like I would be comfortably saying that Canelo would beat him. Now, if Canelo decided, let me get Ryder, let me get Bivol, and then sometime in the middle of next year, but of course, in a perfect world, like Benavidez would have to have at least stay active, right? Like it would be that much more of an intriguing fight, and it would. I would still pick Canelo, but it would be more in the middle. But
all right, George, that was great stuff. So what you're essentially saying is that Canelo should fight Benavidez next, not because Benavidez necessarily deserves that fight next, but because it would benefit Canelo to take Benavidez right now.
Yeah, I think I would say yes, man. That's definitely it. Yeah, I mean, and if we're going to say that as well, that Benavidez deserves to be next. I mean, I guess he did what he had to do, right? He went and fought the mandatory guy and Plant. He got a good win, and that would make him in line next in line to go ahead and be in the runnings to fight Canelo next. But that's all depends on what Canelo wants to do, right?
Right. No, I mean, that's a good point. I'm going to talk about that myself here in a little bit, but the chat's distracting me because there's this big debate as to whether David Benavidez, his wife, has real or fake tetas and a culo, right? And JC here is saying that she has the face of a chinita, tetas de blonde, and a culo de ebony. Well, okay, BBLs, I do think the tits might be fake. I want to say, though, I was thoroughly impressed, thoroughly distracted. I haven't seen that much like boxer wife cleavage since Miguel Cotto's wife, Georgie. You know what I mean? I can't think, but hers were all natural, baby.
Yeah. Deontay Wilder, too. I remember recently that was another one of those two where I was like, oh, man, a cough, a sneeze, any wrong movement.
Yeah. And JC here says, have you seen the video? She could barely walk. Well, I saw her walking, but I guess I wasn't looking at her stride. You know what I mean? I got a little distracted, man. But these are all great points, and yes, we're going to talk about that in just a second here. Canelo versus Benavidez, if it's up next, right? But I just want to just kind of follow up on my thoughts. Like I said, I do think that the Benavidez extremists are doing a real disservice by trying to say that Benavidez should just stay on ice until Canelo is available. I think that's a mistake. There's nothing wrong with David Benavidez taking on a fight this fall if he can't get the Canelo fight. He did everything right by calling out the cash cow. He did everything right to be the next guy to see at 168 pounds after Ryder, in my opinion. Canelo has made this fight. He's going to take it. And if he goes up to 175, that's his business, right? And just like Nopal said, just because Canelo is going to entertain the fight with Benavidez doesn't necessarily mean that fight can get made. If PBC starts hemming and hawing, like what they should do is just allow Benavidez to go take that fight. Benavidez sounds like he's willing to take small money for that fight, right? So as long as PBC doesn't hang it up, just like they tried to hang it up with Plant, right? And stall things out and try to get Canelo in a long contract. As long as there's not any pedo like that, right? This fight could possibly be made. I do think that right now, I think that Benavidez should take on, in my opinion, David Morrell. And that would impress me. I think that he is the best fighter to face out of the current landscape, or Jermall Charlo or Andrade. But I don't think either of those guys would face Benavidez. I think both of those guys would lose to Benavidez. I think Morrell could stand a chance against Benavidez. He's just very untested. I'm very impressed with him, but I just think he's very untested. But his skill set, it impresses me, man. I feel like he can do it all. He's got a great trainer. Ronnie Shields is very impressed with David Morrell. I think he's only going to get better. I think he's the future within 2 years. But, we'll see. We'll see what the plan is for David Benavidez. Also, say he can't get that fight in September, right? Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the best thing in the world for David Benavidez to be on ice for his own sake, right? He should try to stay sharp, right? I mean, he's beaten Plant. That's a good win, but he can keep going. Like, he's allowed to have his own career, right? We've seen historically where, it looked like Benavidez and Plant, even though Canelo wasn't even in the picture, they took forever to fight each other, but it was really satisfying to get that fight. But it took forever. I hope they don't drag their feet. Like, Benavidez has already had nothing but tune-ups. He gets credit for beating Plant, but there's nothing wrong with another good fight, in my opinion. I think it's just bizarre when people say otherwise. Here, Benavidez, extremists, actually Canelo, haters in disguise. Well, okay, it's hard to argue with that. Joe Lopez, 40 ounce, thanks for coming, man. Let me show you my initial slide, right? This is what I got going on here. Let me see. Yeah, because you know what? I totally agree with you, man. Like, these people, they're extremists. You know what I mean? And for some reason, they've all linked. I've heard all kinds of crying, Georgie. I'll tell you this. Here's my thing, bro. All I've done is seen the headlines, man. Like, I haven't really clicked on too much. I did watch T-Styles channel, and I heard what they're saying. Apparently, there's like Canelo fans putting David Morrell in front of Benavidez as like some kind of, I don't know, like, you got to see Morrell first. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. First off, I don't really know who said that, right? But say somebody did say it, like, I don't know. People love to rage, but it's not just them. There's all kinds of reasons you could be hating on this and wanting Benavidez to face Canelo next. I like that fight. I want that fight. If it happens in September, I'll be very happy about it. But if it happens next May, I think that could benefit Benavidez only more if he gets more skill, develops his skills more. But then again, can he make the weight? I thought he looked pretty gaunt in this weigh-in. But he actually looked great eventually once he warmed up, right? I feel like once he warmed up, I felt like shit. He could have gone like another 3 rounds. So I do think it's a good fight for Canelo in general because David Benavidez does bring some things to the table, and I want to talk about it, man. Let's say that Canelo versus Benavidez happens next. Let's talk about it. Like, what do we think is going to happen? All right. Nopal, brother, cook on this, man. Like, what do you want to say?
Wait, say that again, Chicano.
We're talking about Canelo Alvarez, El Gran Campeón, 168 pounds versus David Benavidez next. How would you see it playing out?
Bro, I that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, bro. I think that David is an excellent fighter and everything, but bro, I just see this fight going like, and he's got a big gas tank, so I don't think he'll get knocked out, but I think that he's too clumsy for Canelo, bro. Because, he's going to want to fight, kind of like chase Canelo around, and he's just going to get, greeted by a bunch of body shots. And, I think it's going to be like when he fought Caleb Smith, from the England. I think it's going to be something like that. That's what I think. With, of course, David might be better than Caleb, but, that's how I see it, bro. And no fault for David Benavidez, but I just think that his height and his whole package, everything that he has, is just a disadvantage for him versus a fighter of Canelo size, small. He just doesn't. And I think that there's a way that the big guys like that could beat Canelo, but I'm not gonna say it because you know. But I don't think that David necessarily would do that kind of stuff, And I just think that Canelo would beat him right now easily. And, that's why I would like to see him fight other people before he gets the Canelo fight. But if that fight happens, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. I would love that fight right now. But, we gotta face reality before we can start hoping like that. You know what I mean? The reality is this fight ain't going to happen. It's going to take at least a year, 2 years maybe.
I can't hear you, Chicano. I don't know if you're mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, great breakdown, Nopal. Georgie, what would you like to add to the breakdown? You already told us that you think Canelo could take Benavidez right now. Mm-hmm. That's how you see it. Why do you see it that way?
I just think Benavidez, his footwork, him being in the pocket against somebody like that, it isn't for him. He definitely needs to work on that footwork, some head movement, some bobbing and weaving, learn how to slip. Because he, it's his style, right? He's a pressure fighter, so he likes to come forward. He kind of plots a little bit. He throws like, he doesn't really throw like a really a solid jab, but he throws more of like, like to blind you kind of jab, and then he throws his shots. He's good with throwing uppercuts. So, I think with Canelo bobbing and weaving, like, he would try to aim for that. But I also said they will exchange hooks. I know they will exchange hooks, and I think that's just the nature of Benavidez, to want to show this toughness, to show why why he should be in there in that ring. And I think that would be one of his downfalls is trying to exchange hooks with somebody like Canelo, because Canelo's hooks they're tighter, they're faster. He's got good muscle memory, especially fighting guys a little bit taller than him, so he'll know exactly where to land those hooks. But I also see it this way as well, where Canelo doesn't move as much as Plant does, so he won't necessarily be out of the pocket. Canelo is very good with he's very comfortable with being in the pocket. He's got good upper body movement. I think that would, for Benavidez, I think that would be a little bit better rather than trying to find a target like he did against Plant. And a lot of the times you got a pressure fighter, a headhunter, he's always trying to hunt for the head, and I think that will be a mistake on his part, is trying to land some headshots, trying to knock out Canelo. He would have to kind of take a page kind of from what Bivol did, where Bivol was just kind of throwing shots where he expected Canelo to be to the center of his body. And this is Canelo on 168, so he's not putting on this much heavier weight. He's not having to put on much more weight. He's not having to deal with an injury. So there's a lot of little factors, I guess you could say. We would see how Canelo looks after in the Ryder fight, if those are the things that we expected, that it's the hand, going up in weight, coming down in weight. I think it's still a good fight. I think it would be what everybody wants, and I do agree with Nopal that it just wouldn't happen right away because we know the powers that be, the zone and PBC. But it's not like they've ever been able to um to fight or to be able to come up with something that where they can agree upon. And of course, Canelo would definitely be the A side. I mean, we've even seen Canelo, um, take a one fight deal with PBC. I think if he really wants this fight, I think he could definitely make some things happen with that as well. But I think, again, this fight happens now, and then we also got to think about the other side of it too. Is are we seeing a small decline in Canelo? Like, is he gonna be declining as the years go on, depending on, let's say this fight happens later. Like, are we gonna see kind of a decline, along with Benavidez being 26 and gaining experience? So a lot of little things got to happen in order for them to meet, I think. And I think right now, I heard someone say like Canelo needs to strike while the iron is hot, and I think right now would be the perfect moment.
Man, well said. A lot of little great nuances to this fight. Great breakdown by both you guys, and I totally resonate with a lot of what you guys were saying. Is Canelo going to be still prime, or are we going to still see that slide? Like, here at Chile, we've kind of noticed just a little bit of slippage. Like, we don't necessarily think Canelo's in his prime anymore, right? But I think that his early to mid 30s, maybe he'll just kind of be able to stay even for a little bit, right? And I think that it is going to be more than enough to take care of David Benavidez, at least for right now. I think that, just like you all said, Canelo knows how to face a tall guy. He knows how to get in the inside, and he's absolutely going to hook with the hooker. We know who the power puncher is of the two. Now, don't get me wrong. Benavidez is going to come in with a really nice skill set that does make this a fun fight to watch. On top of that, too, I think that Benavidez has an amazing volume advantage, right? Punching volume. But just like we saw in the Benavidez versus Plant fight, hell, I was expecting to see that volume early on, but he was tentative against Caleb Plant. Now, if he's going to be tentative early on for the first handful of rounds and, take a while to get going against Caleb Plant, which was, I guess, a high-profile fight. And yes, I guess Caleb Plant did knock out Durrell earlier, but if you're tentative against the Caleb Plant, I mean, you're definitely going to be tentative against Canelo Alvarez, who does knock out people in this weight class, knocked out the guy that you were unable to knock out for one reason or the other. Canelo's power has to be respected. David Benavidez is going to go in there and light up Canelo, even though it might work out. On top of that, too, just like Plant, Canelo can fade towards the end, right? I think that with the volume and the fact that David Benavidez can go seemingly 12 hard rounds right now could benefit him. But then again, like, he's never been countered to the body like he's going to get countered in this fight. I'll tell you that right now. Canelo is going to be the one pushing the action on the front foot a little bit. He's not going to be able to dance around like Plant. He's going to force the issue. He's going to have front foot dominance. He might be able to fight on the back foot a little bit when it serves him. Okay, and we were talking about how Canelo has maybe slid a little bit. Well, just like you were saying, Georgie, I think that although David Benavidez is getting better in maybe certain little aspects, before you jumped on, I was mentioning how he was much better in the clinch than I had expected against Caleb Plant. But I've seen his jab regress personally. I still think it's one of his best tools, but when you watch those early 20 David Benavidez fights, like against Ronald Graville, man, that thing is so damn crisp, has great timing, right? And it's really offsetting too. Like, he's got a rhythm and you think he's not going to pop in, boom, boom, comes down the pipe often. I haven't seen that in the last like 4 David Benavidez fights. And it could be because maybe he's just been walking down these guys, but I didn't even really see it against Caleb Plant when he did look sharp otherwise, right? But like I said, it took him a while to kind of get in range and to kind of get used to the rhythm of Caleb Plant. But I do think that, Caleb Plant is not Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is a whole different thing. I think that Canelo should get the full credit when he does beat David Benavidez, but I do think it's an exciting fight. Canelo's going to be in there to bang. I think David Benavidez is a little underrated on the inside. I think that his inside fighting is good, but the more brazen he gets, it's only going to lead for more opportunities for Canelo, and it does benefit David Benavidez to stretch this fight out. But I could see it ending in a knockout. Like if you start chopping down that tree, which is David Benavidez, say he's this tree, like, those rounds are going to start getting to you after a while. I've never been concerned about this fight. I've already talked about this fight. I think it would be good, but stylistically, I think David Benavidez would be much easier to beat than Dimitri Bivol, much easier to beat than Better Beef. That's just how I feel. I don't think anybody, especially like, say you're like a Benavidez fanboy, right? Like even a David Benavidez fanboy won't be like, oh, well, this is the toughest fight for Canelo. Like they don't even talk about if Benavidez will win. They just want the fight, right? I mean, that's how you know, right? Like they're too scared to actually talk about what would happen in the fight. When I like discussing all fights, right? So I mean, like when I break down this fight, it would be very exciting. Also, I felt a buzz for the Caleb Plant versus Benavidez fight. I really did, man. It felt like fight day for me. And with a lot of recent Canelo fights, I mean, I feel good and I'm excited, but yesterday, or excuse me, on Saturday, it felt like a fight day. And I think I would get that with Canelo versus Benavidez because there has been some talk for a while now. I feel like Canelo can't go one interview without being asked about David Benavidez. So I think that they will meet up probably within about 13, 14 months time. I think if he doesn't meet him this September, he will see him in May.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Definitely fair to say. I think like you said, with one of Benavidez's biggest things is his output, right? And I also would say, along with his output, he does have pretty good stamina. So like that could be a plus. And youth. So I think those three things right there would work in Benavidez's favor. And again, like if he would have to gain some kind of experience, hypothetically speaking, if Canelo said, you know what, let's not do the Bivol fight. The zone and PBC agreed upon everything, which we know it won't happen. And unless he learned a little bit better footwork, better head movement, this is just a good fight, and it's a good topic to talk about. I mean, this could be a topic that we can always bring up like once a week. Like we've done the 12 round, right? The attributes, that would be a good one to do if this fight gets made. Like I would be looking forward to that one because I definitely would be doing a lot of studying and watching previous fights on both guys to be able to score and grade them better.
Definitely, and like you said, come May, we'll have something new to assess as far as where Canelo's currently at. And John Ryder is definitely serviceable. He's top 5. So we'll see where Canelo's at, see if he still looks good, see if he starts to fade at a certain time. I think that we'll learn a lot based on this fight because, I feel like he kind of, I don't want to say carry Triple G, but I mean, it was kind of autopilot for both of them towards the end, right? And then he said he was injured. And now he has his surgery, which he said, on top of that too, like there was something wrong with him in the Bivol fight. I don't know. We'll see. Canelo's a very confident guy, but I do like assessing new information. That always helps. And I want to give a shout out to Alizer Feliciano. Thanks for joining us. And he said that this could be a passing of the torch to Benavidez. Well, it very well could be. There's a new generation that's coming up, and I respect youthful aggression. It's hard to be the older fighter and continue to fight at such a high level. Then again, a lot of these people who've come up, sometimes they don't even really take on a top fight until they're in their late 20s, right? It takes a while. I mean, you look at somebody like Tank, we're getting excited about a Ryan Garcia fight, and he's 28, right? Benavidez is slowly getting older. He's 26. I think this could be the right time for him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a great step-up fight to get to Canelo. He just wants the Canelo fight right now. I do think that the David Morrell fight would be interesting. Georgie, I know that you wanted the Andrade fight for Benavidez. Is that right?
Yeah, I said Andrade.
Is that because you think that Andrade would be the hardest fight, or just the fight that you would prefer?
I think, I know they talked about it last year. There was a moment where there was talks of Benavidez and Andrade. I think Andrade is a name that's been calling out Canelo. I feel like all three of these names have been thrown around together to make this fight happen. One, it would be Andrade is a really good name. Again, like you said, Morale's still a little bit unproven, so we don't really know. He's not as busy. And the good thing about it is all these guys they're all from PBC, so it wouldn't be hard to make that fight at all. I think a win against Andrade would probably For me, I would think it would be more meaningful and better, right? Because again, Andrade has thrown his name out there trying to get a Canelo fight, and then you got these two guys. Let's say, hey, you know what? These two guys have a chance to be able to fight Canelo. Let's say Canelo makes them fight each other. Hey, you know what? I'll face the winner. And to me, I think that just seems a little more meaningful to get an Andrade win over Morrell.
So, and I wanted to mention something. It's like whenever you bring up these Benavidez to like Charlo and also Andre, I've seen it in interviews, bro. The first thing they say is, "Hey, he'll have to meet us at a catch weight," that type of thing. So I think that it'd be better if we got out of trying to say that Benavidez is a weight bully, because the truth is he's not, bro. He might have looked a little fucked up at the weigh-in, but keep in mind he had enough range to come in 2 pounds under the limit. He was lighter than Plant. So, I think we do a disservice by even trying to say that he's a weight bully at this point, because that takes those other. All we're doing is giving Andrade and Charlo a way out of this fight, bro. So, you know what I mean? I think that those are also, the Charlo fight's a good fight for him to take, in between, because Charlo obviously says he wants Canelo, depending on what he's on that night, that he wants either Canelo or whatever, and then now they're too big for him. He switches up his angle, whatever. I think that, David Benavidez can still fight at 168 for like 2 years at least. It's not like he's like Spence, to me, looks worse than him, at 147. He looks really bad, bro. He looks like he's about to die on the scale, compared to David Benavidez. And, I haven't seen Spence come in at 145.
Yeah, and still fight 12 hard rounds. And the youth too is what's helping is Benavidez, right? Let's say he fought his whole career at 168, and he's trying to inch out every ounce he can out of 168, so that way he wouldn't move up. So like he's not having issues. Yeah, he lost it on the scale a couple years ago. He was younger. He lost it to on the scale, cocaine, whatever. When you're young, you make those mistakes, but it's still not an excuse. You can see, he's definitely taking his career more professional. He's trying to go a better route about it. So again, if he was 31 years old and he's still fighting at 168 and doesn't want to move up, along with the guys that he's moved along the the rankings with, and I could say, yeah, he's weight bullying, but it's hard to really say right away. But I agree with Paul. It's hard to really say if he's weight bullying.
Another thing, George, is that if you go back and look, he used to be hella flabby still. He had that baby fat from when he was like overweight teenager,
Mm-hmm.
And, fast forward to right now, and somehow even Platt mentioned it, you got all these newfound muscles, but, which, man, we got to give Platt credit, because that dude got the perfect comebacks all the time. You know what I mean? He's one of best talkers in the sport, hopefully he can get the Charlo fight. Yeah, I mean, the dude used to be flabby. Look at him now. I mean, so now, it just shows like maybe he needed the help from Memo to push it up to the next level to get rid of some of that fat, but hopefully he can stay at that weight for a little bit enough, because I'll tell you what, he's kind of at Canelo's mercy right now. If, if he can't maintain at this weight, just imagine them going to 175, and by that time, who knows if Canelo's even going to be fighting at that weight, or if he wants to stay or whatever. But by that time, we're talking about 2 or 3 years, in between then. So he really, needs to stay at 168 for a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, it would benefit David Benavidez to stay at 168. We know this, right? I mean, I wouldn't say he's like hiding at 168, but he's not moving up. That's for damn sure. I think it would be a little more interesting if he was at 175. It benefits him to stay there. That's what I think. I think it'd be easier for him to make 175, but will he be stronger? I think he could be a bit stronger. There's that theory. If Run was here, he'd be kind of talking about how, like, after a while, even if you stay at that weight, you're not as strong as you used to be as you get older, even though you're at that weight. So as he gets a little older, like you said, Georgie, it's easy to make weight comfortably or to really sacrifice when you're young. But David Benavidez is slowly getting older. And like I said, his crisp jab is not what it used to be. even the commentators are saying in this Plant fight, like, man, his activity level is actually quite low. And so he did put a beating on Plant towards the end. So who knows? All I'm saying is there's still some open questions. Like, he just doesn't have like that resume where you can go back and look at all these fights like, oh man, this is where he fought like a really good puncher. Like I still haven't really seen that fight where I'm like, okay, he fought somebody who's like a really, really good puncher. And so now I know how his chin is or how he could take it to the body. Right. I just don't know that yet. Although like I said, I do think he has a very good skill set in general. And Remy here is talking about the booger sugar. He approves, you know, can't blame David for the soda. Well, I mean, you know, what can I say, man? I'll tell you, but I am excited about any potential future boxing fights for Benavidez if he doesn't get the Canelo fight. And I want to congratulate him once again for beating Caleb Plant. It was a very satisfying night of boxing. And you know what? Just good boxing all around. Before we take off, man, I would just like to kind of visit the undercard really quickly. I had a really good time. I want to see if you guys agree with me that this dude is the business. Jesus Ramos, right? It's the Jesus, right? Yeah, no, he impressed me, man. This is the first time I've seen him, but damn, he looks like he's ready to go at 154 pounds. Georgie, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to brag, but yeah, no, I text messaged him that night. You know, he responded. I was like, hey man, you know, great win. You know, enjoy the win. And I told him I thought he won. I thought he had like the performance of the night out of all the fights, and I thought it was great. And you know, me and Julian, we'll keep in touch with him, and he's already invited us to come and chat with him. We've heard that there might be like a Fundora fight, you know, depending on how this one went. And
damn, that's a crazy fight, George, for real.
Yeah, bro. There's that. Yeah, don't quote me on it, but we definitely kind of heard that the Fundora and Ramos fight is something. So
inside information right here, exclusive Al Chile info, man. Man, Jesus Ramos looked big for the weight class. Yeah, dude. Like I said, you know, I hadn't seen him, but either of these guys really. And also, shout out to Joey Spencer, man. Like when he got knocked down, he came up with all kinds of like piss and vinegar. Like, oh, what, you think you're gonna knock me down? He went in there to try to like say what's what, but no, he got beat down. And then Ramos showed him that, you know, he kind of put his face up to the guy's whole body and was like, "What, are you gonna punch me? Like you ain't got nothing." He just sunned him in real time, and I thought it was a good decision for Spencer's father to throw in the towel.
Yeah, and I heard too that's you know, there was a lot of commentating or a lot of like, oh, why did they throw Spencer in there with Ramos right away? It was actually Spencer that was asking for
wanting the fight on.
Yeah,
he said it, bro. Yeah, he said I just want to make this clear before the fight, bro. He said that. He said, I just want to make this clear. He kind of put it in a question because the way he said it, he was making it seem like Ramos was trying to avoid him or something. It was weird, bro, because he's like, I just want to make it clear. It's not because he asked for it, it's because I asked for it. So I was like, oh shit, Ramos might get his ass whooped, right?
Oh,
First round, I was like, oh shit, who knows, huh? Spencer might be good, but second round came and I was like, God damn, this dude's in for a long ass night.
Right. There was that moment where you could tell that Spencer kind of knew that there was nothing he could do. He had heart, though. He really just gave it a shot and he just started taking a beating. It was like, well, I'm just going to keep coming then, right? But I mean, he was neutralized and turned into a one-sided beatdown eventually. And great. I'm telling you, just a great time to stop the fight. So you're Georgie, you know, and I've been following you, but you know, sometimes when I don't know the guy, it's hard for me to register who you have interviewed. But so you know the Ramos family then, or?
Yeah, we've gone the one time up there, and then like every so often, you know, me and Julian will keep in contact. The whole family, they're real nice, man. They're really cool people. Like I said, they're not very far from where we live, and we kind of we did have an invite for this one, but it just didn't work out. And he told Julian again, he's like, hey, look at the next one, like, you know, please come and come and chat with us. So I'm hoping we can do an interview, and I would love to have you guys on, you know, with us as well. Like if you guys have some questions and kind of meet them. My uncle, he's a big fan too. Like a couple years ago, he mentioned them. I heard the name, but I wasn't too familiar. But he's like, hey, mijo, you got to look out for this kid, Jesus Ramos, you know, fighting out of Arizona. And my uncle's high on him. And I told him, my uncle's like, hey, you know, one day we'll you know, when we go up there to go meet Jesus Ramos again, like you can come by and you can meet him. And he was all excited. So it's good, man. He's there. The whole family's they're really nice people, and he's real welcoming. I mean, so
yeah, dude.
Man, go ahead, Chicano.
Oh no, I was just gonna add to that. Yes, they do seem like really warm people from what I could tell.
Yeah. This guy's gonna be a problem, man, for 154 division, bro. I gotta say
Boy,
that. Him and Fundora, and that kind of sucks that I gotta see them two fight before they
yeah,
can fight somebody else. You know what I mean? But you could see PBC's trying to get them out of the way, huh?
somebody,
'Cause
yeah,
these-
somebody. I said the same thing too when like I can show you guys a text message. Like Julian was like, dude, I think he showed me last week. So yeah, Ramos, they're talking about Fundora next. I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to see that quite yet. There's still some good fights at 154 that he could fight. I mean, a Castano would be a pretty good fight too. Even if Jamal sticks around, it'd be good. Something good there. I mean, even like these guys are all in the same. They're all in the same boat with each other, right? They're all PBC. Like even got like Tim Zhu is another good name out there. Ramos is still young too. I don't even think he's 30 years old yet.
Nice.
yeah. And you know, another thing I want to bring up, it's fucking sad, the sad state of PBC, man. They only give their fighters like one fight per year. Some of these dudes are going broke, wanting to commit suicide, bro. It's sad. And, like, maybe they pay them good for one fight, but, it's not cracked up when it's, just fighting once a year is bad for these fighters, bro, because that's their life.
Yeah. Yeah, there was even I've even heard Rick Glazer on the record saying that he kind of has an insight, or he knows how the fighters get paid. They get paid like I don't know if no, it's not a salary. They get paid like monthly.
Increments?
Yeah, increments.
Oh,
Installments.
man. That's sad, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time it's like an advancement too, right? It's like, all right, if I give you 10,000, like I might get those 10,000 back. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Sad, huh?
Yeah, dude. And you know what? I just want to add to this that I am totally on board with Jesus Ramos. Like I said, now I'm starting to get to know him. I'm on board, man. And I'm down to, like you said, and I'll be in AZ here pretty shortly, brother. So maybe I'll do that ride
Yes,
with you, go interview him. You know
for
what I'm
sure,
saying?
for sure.
Shit. And D-Style Boxing's in the house. Welcome, brother. And he wants to know if we're the mysterious Canelo fans demanding that Benavidez fight with Canelo doesn't happen. Yeah, we've heard about this. We're not the mysterious Canelo fans demanding that Benavidez fight Morrell, or else Benavidez doesn't deserve that fight. There's some delusional people out there or pathological liars. I've seen this before. People, they want to find somebody and then just they attach to tackling a narrative because they've heard something from somewhere. But I mean,
Yep.
they're just haters, bro. They're just haters. I don't really pay too much attention to what those people have to say. I'd like to talk about boxing in reality here, and so the other thing I want to talk about is just I want to touch on what Nopal was talking about too, which is our homie Cody Crowley. And Nopal was probably referencing, at least in part, to what Cody Crowley was saying after he won his fight. Congratulations to our homie Cody Crowley. We had him on our show once. One of the nicest guys, man, and I really felt for him. For those who don't know, if you watched the card, I'm sure you kind of were able to find out that his father recently just took his life, and they both went to Las Vegas and committed to Cody Crowley being a professional boxer and trying to make it. And for some reason, his father took his life, right? And Cody Crowley, he took it really hard, and he was saying that he was in a really dark place too when he's someone who just tries to vibrate at a very high level. And so it was very hard for me to hear that because, I think he's a really nice guy. And, I listen to a lot of his podcasts and what he has to say just about, spirituality and evil does exist, and sometimes you have to face things. And like David Benavidez said in the lead up to his fight with Plant in the All Access, he said, life is hard, and life is really hard, man. So I want to salute Cody Crowley for eking out that win, for staying strong in spite of everything. And on top of that too, just like you were saying, Nopal, Cody Crowley was talking about how it's been tough for him because he has gone broke at times trying to make this dream happen. And I've heard in other podcasts, and he referenced this a little bit in the post-fight interview, that he's been told for like a year, you're going to fight in 6 weeks. You're going to fight in 6 weeks. He'd rather fight more than once a year, right? And he's just constantly training because of that. And it's maybe for a good reason, maybe for not a good reason, but we do know that PBC fighters don't tend to fight all that often. Now, it could have been that they were looking to put him on a Wilder undercard, or probably an Errol Spence undercard, right? And based on when I've seen him tweet and rumors of Spence fighting, it looks like they've always tried to kind of match them together as far as like Cody Crowley being on Spence's undercard. But it still sucks for these undercard fighters who are looking to stay active. But Cody Crowley's profile only continues to raise up. He's at number 1 now in the WBC. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get his title shot opportunity to chase his dream It'd be one hell of a thing though to go up against Earl Spence. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
do like his style, man. He's kind of got that Henry Armstrong style. You know what I mean?
I enjoyed this fight very much. That was a very like a throwback fight. I felt like watching it. It was good stuff.
Yeah. No, you know what? That whole card was impressive, and I don't have a photo, but I want to know what you guys thought about that Colbert decision. People are screaming robbery. I thought it was a robbery, but I wasn't scoring it, and I didn't catch that first round, but I know what happened in that first round. So based on all the information I have, it looked to me like a robbery. Some people are coming in a little late going like, nah, I didn't see it as a robbery. You could give it to Colbert. Like, what did you guys think about it?
I thought he got robbed, man. Really bad. Honestly, I didn't see Colbert winning any round. Of course, I wasn't scoring it, and maybe as weak as Colbert looked, maybe I was being biased because he was getting his ass whooped the whole fight. Maybe I wasn't really scoring it punch by punch, but then again, this ain't amateur boxing. This is pro boxing, and I thought he got his ass whooped, bro. And
Right.
I think that I don't know what happened, bro, why they gave it to him. The other guy clearly won, in my opinion. But of course, to be fair to Colbert, maybe I gotta rewatch it and give an official scorecard. But I still think he got his ass whooped, man.
Yeah. I agree totally. Like Colbert did have some moments, but I think for the most part, Ryo won a majority of the round. So yeah, I definitely agree. I was like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit all the way, man.
Shit, I thought he was gonna go into a damn seizure, bro. He went cross-eyed or something in there. I was worried. I thought the medic should stop it. Nah, not that much, but it was weird how he was like, his eyes were all weird and stuff. I don't know, but yeah.
My homie Drew Evo had me put in a bet for him, and one of those was Ryo winning. It was a parlay, okay? So you lose one, the bracket's busted, right? And he was texting me like, oh, fuck, there goes my money. I'm like, yeah, dude, sorry. And he was stunned, bro. He's like, oh, my parlay's still alive. I'm like, yeah, but it was a robbery. He goes, yeah, it was a robbery. So, I mean, even the guy who had a parlay says, yes, this fight was a damn robbery.
So his parlay was dependent upon the Benavidez fight at the end?
Yeah, dude, he bet $10. He would have won like $109. And all he had to do was have Plant win, right? His parlay held, and he was if Plant had won, he would have won. And I told him, bro, if you bet 35 right now, you could protect your $10, okay? And you'll still net 75 if Plant wins. So no matter what, you're not going to lose. But he didn't want to. He went for it. He let it ride, and well, he lost $10. But that's awesome profit. But he didn't get it, right? So that's how it goes. D-Style Boxing's back in the chat. Nopal, he wants to know if you're one of the Canelo fans that's pushing for the Morrell versus Benavidez fight.
I mean, I just got to say, context is everything, bro. I'm not saying that Benavidez needs to fight Morrell right now. What I'm saying is that realistically, we've been through here. We've done this dance a million times before. We know that Canelo has 2 fights before he's even going to entertain talking to PBC and negotiating with them, which takes another 6 months. So realistically, Benavidez has 2 years maybe to have to fight somebody, bro. And this fight right here was like a tune-up fight for him, basically. So it isn't beyond anything to ask the dude to fight somebody who's there. We're not gonna just let the guy fight Rocky Fieldings or bums. We're gonna, we should be asking for him to fight somebody in between, those 2 years that, that fight's not even on the table. So, or the year or whatever. But as far as me, at the same time, if it's, it doesn't have to happen. It's not up to me. It's like, I would love to see the Canelo, Benavidez fight right now. I mean, I have no problem. I'm not even pushing that, but yes, if I get a chance, I will mention it because it's an option, bro.
Yeah, dude. We like seeing great fights, and we're just reasonable people. That's all. Boxing fans, man. And Remy here says that Benavidez has a 3-fight deal with the PBC, or are you talking about like 3 fights that are set up, like arranged to go? Remy's got some inside information, y'all. So I want to know
Remy.
I want to know what he's talking about there. But
Remy, they already saved his ass, huh? Benavidez, he's got 3 easy ass fights Hey, bro,
Nah.
after this one, you get the Canelo fight.
Oh, great. Now somebody's going to be like, I heard somebody said that Benavidez is being protected and they're going to lose their shit. And
When don't they lose their shit?
I know, bro, dude, they're all fucking riled up, bro. All of them. You know what I mean? So, but to me, I can only laugh. And D-Style was making a lot of good points yesterday, but I mean, you could talk at them. It's not going to do any good. They're just going to continue to be inconsistent, be liars. It's bad, bro. It's bad. It looks here like D-Style 125, 185. All right, good. Lost another 25 on Rayo because of the robbery. It looks like D-Style's getting in on the betting action lately, man. Well, good, bro. It's fun to bet, man. It's fun to have a little bit of action writing. I put down okay, now we're talking, okay? And you all know I like to place big bets, okay? I placed a big old bet on Cody Crowley, right? Because I just felt like he ain't going to lose, Spirit is with us, right? So I bet $600 to win like 100, okay? So it was like 6-1 odds or some bullshit. I was sweating bullets in the middle of that fight, especially when
Didn't he
Crowley
get knocked down?
No, well, that's the thing. It looked like he got knocked down, but he didn't. It was they reversed it, but in real time,
a slip on.
Yeah, it looked like his glove did touch the ground, but it didn't, right? But it looked like it in real time, so I could see how the ref could have made that mistake. But I was a big fan of that replay, not because it saved my ass, but they really should do things like that, especially for like a glove touching the ground. As far as like a punch hitting somebody with like when they're kind of on the way down or whatever, like a slip punch kind of thing, like I could see that maybe being the discretion of the ref that's inside the ring, right? Because that's just a matter of judgment. But whether a glove touches the canvas or not, I mean, you should be able to take a look at that and call it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Remy here won't give us any further information other than it looks like the 3-fight deal. Well, I mean, if a 3-fight deal includes Morel or Charlo or Andrade, I'll be really happy.
That's what we want to know, huh? If you could disclose that, Remy. Does it include anybody of significance?
At least one of the three, right? At least one of the three.
One guy, come on, bro. This is like a tune-up, I tell you.
I know, man. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. This is Georgie from Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. No Paul Boxanos and the Chicano Prophet. Hope you all have a great week, all right? Take care.
Peace.